Oh, yes. Gary Stokes. Hello.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just going live, deputies. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we are officially back on the record. Good morning. My name is Judge Tamika West, and I'm presiding over preliminary hearings this morning. We are streaming live via YouTube. The parties have announced. The first case that is scheduled for a hearing is the state of Georgia versus Gary Joanne Stokes Sr. We have several charges. The first charge is warrant 2022 WA 13358. Violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act. The second charge we have is warrant number 2022 WA 13359, improper lane change. Third charge we have is warrant number 2022 WA 13360, driving on a suspended or revoked license. Fourth charge we have is warrant number 2022 WA 13361, a violation of a brake lights and signals. So those are the charges today. The state will be represented by ADA Kimberly Myers, and the defendant is represented by Attorney Rhonda Hill. Are you ready to proceed forward, ADA Myers?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's ready.
Okay, your case.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Lieutenant Brandon McKay. Good morning, Lieutenant McKay. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Can you please, you can lower your hand. Can you please introduce yourself to the court and state and spell your name?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Lieutenant Brandon McKay. That's BRANDYN MCKAY, and I'm employed with the Clayton County Police Department.
Thank you. And were you employed as a lieutenant with the Clayton County Police Department back on the date of the offense in this case?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And was that on August 27th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am, that sounds accurate.
And can you tell us what happened on that date?
Essentially on that particular date, I was on patrol in the area of, I believe it was North Main Street and Hunt Road. And I observed a Nissan Sentra that had a brake light out. I got behind the vehicle. It went over to Terra Road. I was trying to wait for a safe place to actually stop it, and it failed to maintain its lane by driving over the yellow line in the center of the road. I ended up conducting a traffic stop right at Terra Road and O'Hara Drive. I made contact with the driver, which was Mr. Stokes. Advised him the reason for the stop and asked him for his license. At that particular time, he said that he did not have a license. I inquired if he just didn't have his license with him or if he did not have an actual license. And he said, you know, I don't have a license. I don't drive. And I said, well, you're driving right now. So I ended up getting his information, found out his license was revoked, ended up placing him into custody. There was another female, Missy Raina Woody, that was the front seat passenger in the vehicle. She did not have a license. So during the process of trying to find someone to get the vehicle, Miss Woody was asked to exit the vehicle. She ended up trying to hide a glass crack pipe that was observed by another officer that was with me. And so ultimately a probable cause search of the vehicle was conducted and a crack rock was found on the back floorboard of the vehicle. And Mr. Stokes nor Miss Woody advised that it was theirs. So ultimately both of them were charged with it.
And that crack rock you mentioned being found on the floorboard of the vehicle, was that within arm's reach of where both Mr. Stokes and Miss Woody were seated in the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay. And did you conduct any field tests on that suspected crack rock?
Yes, ma'am. I conducted a field test with a cocaine wipe and it field tested positive.
Okay. And did all of this occur in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Okay. And do you see the same Mr. Stokes that you encountered on that date on the screen on the Zoom hearing today?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
you please describe what he's wearing?
He's wearing a white t-shirt and an orange jumpsuit.
Your Honor, the state asks that the record please reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Okay.
No further questions at this time.
Attorney Hill, your witness.
Thank you. Officer McKay, do you recall who that car was registered to?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Miss Irena Woody and her husband, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Did they have valid insurance?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Just trying to show control of the car.
Okay, I'm going to sustain.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's see. So the car was registered to Miss Irena Woody and her husband. Did Miss Irena Woody make any statements to you that day?
I mean, she made several. She said that the cocaine was not hers. That Mr. Stokes was just helping her out, driving the vehicle because neither one of them had a license. There was several different things that were stated.
Okay. And you said that the crack cocaine that was found, you said was found on the floorboard of the back seat. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
On the driver's side or passenger side?
On the driver's side,
Where was Miss Irena sitting?
in the front passenger seat.
Okay, so it was located behind her seat,
No, it was located behind the driver's seat.
behind the driver's seat. Okay. You also stated that when you attempted to get Miss Irena out of the car, that she was trying to hide a crack pipe. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. But you did not see her attempting to hide the crack cocaine.
No, ma'am, it did not.
Okay. So when you searched the car, was that incident to arrest or was that incident to the car being impounded?
So that was neither, because we observed the crack pipe in plain view. Obviously, it's legal to have a crack pipe. We ended up conducting a search based on that.
Okay. And when you say plain view, was it sitting in her lap?
No, when she stepped out of the vehicle, she tried to tuck it down between the passenger seat and basically the door jamb. But you could stand there and see the glass sticking up out of the top of the actual pipe itself, sticking up out of the napkin that she had it in.
Did you find any drug paraphernalia on Mr. Stokes?
No, ma'am, we did not.
Did Mr. Stokes make any comments about any other comments besides, I guess, that the crack wasn't his?
In reference to the actual crack itself, I don't believe so. He, of course, said at one point that he doesn't drive, and I don't think he made anything else that really sticks out to me. No, ma'am.
Did you ask Mr. Stokes whether or not he used drugs?
I do not believe if I did or not.
Okay. Do you recall asking Miss Irena whether or not she was a drug user?
I don't recall if I did or not.
Okay. Let's see. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Attorney Myers, do you have any questions in response or redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
Okay. Attorney Hill, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. We're ready for summation.
I'll reserve, Your Honor.
Okay. Attorney Hill.
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask that the charge against Mr. Stokes be dismissed because it appears that the crack cocaine located in the car was not his. It wasn't in his actual possession. I know the state will argue that he did have constructive possession because he was the driver of the vehicle. But as Miss Irena stated, he was just doing her a favor. The car belonged to her. It did not belong to Mr. Stokes. He was unfortunately selecting the wrong time to be a nice guy and trying to help her out by assisting her by driving her somewhere. And I mean, there was apparently crack cocaine in the car. It clearly crack rock, the crack belonged to one person. Miss Woody got caught with the crack pipe in her lap, trying to hide it and conceal it from the officers, and they found it. So, I mean, if anything, the crack pipe is indicative that more than likely the actual crack rock was probably hers as well. And so for that, Your Honor, I don't believe that constructive possession is actually met here either. As we can see, there was no actual possession, and the constructive possession is really not there either. So for that reason, Your Honor, I ask that you dismiss the charge on the VGSA.
Okay, well, Miss Woody did not testify, correct?
Correct, but the
I guess in your
officer,
summation, you said she stated.
because the
So that's
officer,
hearsay, correct?
it is, but the officer stated what she told him in his
Okay.
testimony.
Okay, I don't see that in at least the warrant that I'm looking at, but okay.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, I don't see that in the warrant.
Wait, which part? Because
Where you said she stated that it wasn't the defendant.
Oh, no, no. I was saying that the officer stated that the car was not his, but I'm sorry if I misspoke. I didn't mean to say that she stated that the crack wasn't his. I believe she denied owning the crack.
Okay, that's what I was confused about. Okay.
Yeah, she denied owning the crack, but as I was just saying, my argument was that the car belonged to her. And so
But he was driving.
He was driving.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 88 Myers.
Yes, Your Honor. Believe that Lieutenant McKay has testified sufficiently to establish probable cause for all of the charges. It does not sound like the defense is contesting the failure to maintain lane, the brake light, or the suspended license. So I will just submit on the evidence for that. As to the VGCSA charge, the state does believe that the testimony has provided sufficient probable cause to support that charge. Not only was the defendant the driver of this vehicle, but he did have access to that cocaine. It was within arm's reach for the officer's testimony. Additionally, Your Honor, there is a well-established case law that the driver of a vehicle is, in absence of circumstances to the contrary, is presumed to have possession of and control of contraband found in the vehicle that he is driving. Johnson v. State, for instance, that's 268 Georgia Appeals 808. It's just one case on point for that particular for that particular holding. Your Honor, based on the facts here, both defendants had access, were within arm's reach of the drugs, both denied ownership of the drugs. The evidence shows that they were both in joint and constructive possession. So the state would ask that Your Honor bind this case over to Superior Court.
Okay. Thank you. Based upon the evidence presented to the court today, I do find sufficient probable cause to bind over the case to Superior Court on all charges. That is the order of the court, and that will conclude the preliminary hearing for Mr. Stokes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Okay, the next case we're going to call, actually, Ms. Myers, is State of Georgia versus Taiwan LaTroy Bush, only because the officer is in training and he has to, he's been on standby all of this time. So I would like to go ahead and take that case. He's been chatting, sending me chats. I'm not certain if it's still him. Officer Ellis, is this?
Officer Ellis, because I was trying to message him as well to see if he was available. He didn't respond to me.
He sent me a chat to say, he says, can someone call me when it's time for a bush? And then I said, please stand by. I will.
And Officer Ellis, and I just tried to call you. You didn't respond to me. And I told you that it was me calling. You still didn't respond.
Yeah, I'm on and off the track. I got a bunch of motorcycles around me. I just went to the end of the track. I didn't have your number saved. I had sent the text saying I'm in court. So I got gunfire in the distance, motorcycles and cars being pitted in the background. I'm trying to keep away from that so I can focus on this case right here.
Okay, and so my question to you is, do you have your report there in case you have to refresh your recollection, or have you reviewed it?
I've reviewed it, but I do not have it with me down here because I'm in training for motorcycles.
Okay, so I guess my last question to you is, do you feel comfortable enough without having a report there? Because I wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to refresh your recollection, but are you comfortable with proceeding with the hearing?
Only thing I have an issue with is date and time.
I'm sorry?
The only thing I will have an issue recollecting is dates and times.
Okay, well, I think, because typically I ask those questions, just getting into the testimonies, I believe that we should be able to go forward.
Okay, I believe Attorney Hill is on, is the attorney for Bush, correct, Attorney Hill?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the state is ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Judge.
Okay, okay, Deputy, if you will bring forward inmate Tawan LaTroy Bush.
Your Honor, I apologize. I want to make sure I'm free to go. I've been waiting. I think my case.
I'm sorry, what was your case, officer?
It's Jackson, Lachey Jackson. Nobody told me I was free to go. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, I got all the witnesses sending me messages. I think that should be sending them to ADA Freeman.
Right, I'm not sure what, and so we'll have to make sure the officers understand, unless you hear me say something about your case, then send me a message about if you missed something about the case, or otherwise your case hasn't been resolved yet.
And it's still on the calendar,
Right.
Officer Barnett. Jackson is still on the calendar.
Okay, is it set a condition bond? So
I'm sorry, Cheryl, Lachey Jackson, I did make an announcement, but I think you were out. That is going to be a consent bond. She accepted the offer.
Okay. So with that, Judge, then Officer Barry, if that's his only case, I might ask that he be excused.
thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, yes, sir, in the future, yeah, please message all the officers, please message the ADA, not the judge.
I thought
Yes, ma'am.
And I see, so Officer Barry, you're
Thomas.
excused.
Officer Thomas has his hands up.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was the witness on the Corello case.
Yeah, I think that's been.
Cheryl, that's another one. I think you might have been out. It's going to be a consent.
Yeah,
bond.
consent bond.
Okay, so Officer Thomas, can he be excused, Judge?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Officer Thomas.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Cheryl, we went right into the hearing, so I didn't get to.
Okay. That's fine. So I'm ready.
Okay. And do we have, let me see, the jail? Okay, yes, we do. I'm assuming, Miss Attorney Hill, that's your client, correct, Mr. Bush?
Yes.
I'm gonna officially call the state of Georgia versus Tawan LaTroy Bush, warrant number 2022 WA13364 for criminal trespass. Charge number 2 is warrant number 2022 WA13365 for the charge of battery. I have the state that is represented by ADA Cheryl Freeman, and defendant Mr. Bush is represented by Attorney Rhonda Hill. Attorney Freeman, you can proceed forward with your case. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Ellis, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about providing in the matter of state of Georgia versus Tawan Bush will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You can lower your hand. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
I'm a police officer employed by Forest Park Police Department.
How long have you worked with the Forest Park Police Department?
I'm going on 2 years.
And sir, were you working with the Forest Park Police Department on August 27th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that day, did you respond to 5030 Old Dixie Road, apartment 71, in reference to a domestic disturbance?
Yes, ma'am.
When you arrived there, who did you speak with?
I do not remember the victim's name. I believe it was Karen, her first name. I do not remember her last name. She was standing
Okay.
out. Okay.
So would that be Miss Karen Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
What did Miss Cruz indicate that happened?
said she got into an argument with her boyfriend, and he took her phone and smashed the phone, and she couldn't find the phone, and he tried to choke her, and he punched her on the side of her face.
When you were speaking to Ms. Cruz, did you observe any injuries to her?
She was hysterical. I was attempting to check. I did not observe injuries until the officer that lives next door sent me photos of the injuries, and that's when the additional charges was added.
When you say additional charges, Officer Ellis, what additional charges did you add?
Well, it would not be plural, so additional charge, that would be battery.
Okay. Do you recall what the injuries were?
She had a bruise on her neck. Is hard to see because of her skin on the phone. And then she had busted blood vessels. I forgot what the term for it is called in her eye, where her eye was starting to become completely red on her right side of her face. And that's where she said he struck her.
Did Ms. Cruz and Mr. Bush reside at the same place?
Yes, ma'am.
And was this apartment in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am. Clayton County in the city of Forest Park.
Was Mr. Bush still present at the location when you arrived there?
Yes, ma'am, he was.
Were you able to get a statement from Mr. Bush?
Not a written statement, but he explained to me what happened. He said they got into an argument and that he did not touch her or her phone.
While you were at the location, were you able to retrieve the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
In what condition was the phone in?
The phone was completely destroyed with the screen being uplifted from the phone and cracked. The frame of the phone was as if it has been ran over. As if someone stomped over it over and over again. It was pretty much a brick.
Was that the result of what Ms. Cruz indicated, that when Mr. Bush threw her phone down and smashed it?
Said it one more time. I got vehicles going.
Oh.
Hold on. Other training officers going by and they're speeding by.
Okay. The condition of the phone, was that the result of what Ms. Cruz indicated that Mr. Bush did to it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have on body cam during this time? Officer Ellis, did you have on a body camera at this time?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Attorney Hill, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Ellis, you said that you did wear body cam. Was your equipment functioning correctly that day?
Tests every morning before shift. In this case, every evening before shift because it was night shift and everything was functional. And once I arrived, I activated the body cam once I got out the car.
Have you reviewed that body cam footage?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay. Were there any other witnesses there that day?
Ma'am, there was another officer that lives next door to them.
Okay. Did he provide any statements?
He did not provide any statement.
But did he witness the incident?
Heard the incident and apparently she banged on the door because she could not call 911. So she used her radio to radio it in, and I was the first officer on scene.
Okay. So, but he didn't witness, did he witness the alleged battery or the alleged criminal trespass to the phone?
No.
He did not. Okay.
No,
so what exactly did he witness?
not witnessed anything. She heard the commotion.
She heard the commotion. And what do you recall what she stated that she heard?
That is basically called out like dispatch. It basically sounded like it was somebody it was a fighting going on. And it sounded verbal, then she radioed again and said it's getting physical. So I stepped it up to get to the house.
And where was she in the room with them?
No, she lives next door to them,
Okay, and in the next apartment.
very next apartment.
Okay, and she said that it's getting physical. Did she hear thuds? Why would she say that it was getting physical?
Anytime we hear anything other than verbal, as far as thuds, crashing, or possibly if we're close enough, hearing impact of another human hitting another human, we're gonna assume it's physical, because anything other than that, we can assume either items getting thrown or somebody's getting hit.
Okay. Did Miss Cruz make any written statements?
Man, she did.
Okay. Do you remember what the substance of those written statements were?
It was pretty much the same thing. She told me that she was struck on the right side of her face and that he tried to choke her.
Okay.
Statement is also accessible.
It is, officer. So let me ask you, so you arrived on the scene and you saw Miss Cruz, but initially you didn't take out the battery charge. Why is that?
Because I was trying to tend to her and it was dark, I could not see.
So
And I had to get everybody calmed down in order to process the scene and investigate what happened.
So initially you didn't personally witness any bruises on her?
No, given the time of day and my surroundings, I could not.
Did you examine her for bruises?
But like I said, the scene was chaotic at first.
Okay, but once the scene was under control, did you examine her for bruises?
No, ma'am, I had to get him off of the scene. It was that chaotic.
Okay. So you decided, at what point did you decide that you were going to take out the battery charge?
I was informed that EMS had arrived to the house and I received pictures from the officer next door.
Hold on, 1 second. I can't hear your response. There was background noise.
Let me back up because I'm in between two tracks. Okay. Once I found out the information and decided to take out the charges, it was when I found out EMS had arrived and examined her, and the officer next door sent me photos when the morning time when the sun rose where they can actually see what was going on.
Okay. And at that point, that is when you decided to add the battery charge. Okay. Officer Ellis, did you ever state that you did not believe that Mr. Bush struck her?
In a report.
No, I said, do you recall ever stating that you don't believe that Mr. Bush struck her?
Not recall. That would have to be in the report. That's accessible.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the response. He said that would be in the report.
He did.
Report. When I said my answer for the record is I do not recall. You can check the report.
Okay, you do not recall. Okay, I got you.
Okay. Let's see, Officer Ellis, do you recall were there other instances where the police were called that day prior to you arriving that day?
Approximately maybe 12, 13.
12 or 13 times that day?
No, not that day. Throughout the history of them living there.
Okay. Okay. Do you know whether or not anyone else lives at that residence?
Oh, it's just Bush and Cruz.
Just Bush and Cruz. Okay. Are you aware that Ms. Cruz's statement does not mention being struck?
I am unaware. I do not have access to that right now.
Okay, but you did collect her written statement, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, any redirect, Ms. Redmond?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
Okay. Attorney Hill, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
I guess we're ready for summation.
The state waives opening.
Okay. Attorney Hill?
Your Honor, I would ask that the battery would be dismissed. My client, Mr. Bush, adamantly denies striking Ms. Cruz. She even provided a written statement from which she never mentioned being struck.
Judge, I'm gonna object to that. That's not in evidence.
Okay, I'm gonna sustain.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Let's see. The Officer Ellis, when he arrived on the scene, he did not witness any bruising on Mrs. Cruz, and then decided not to take out any charges, the charge of battery for her. It seems to be quite a few reasons why. He probably couldn't determine whether or not she was actually struck, and he didn't actually see any bruising. It was several hours later that pictures were sent depicting bruises that were allegedly made by Mr. Bush. And that was his basis for taking out the battery. But I mean, it was just several hours later, and it's too far. I believe it was too far in time to determine whether or not he actually made those bruises on Mrs. Cruz. Your Honor, for that, I just don't believe that they have sufficient evidence to affirmatively establish that she was struck at all by Mr. Bush. And even if she was, the injuries do not appear to be substantial enough that even Officer Ellis could not acknowledge these injuries with his naked eye that evening. So for those reasons, Your Honor, I ask that you dismiss the battery charge.
Okay, and then with respect to the criminal trespass?
We submit on the evidence.
Okay. AJ Freeman?
Thank you, Judge. We're asking that you bind both charges over to Superior Court. Based on the information Officer Ellis received from Ms. Cruz, she indicated that Defendant Bush had struck her. And then he later found out from another officer who lived in that complex about the injury, the specific injury to the right eye, and it caused the bursting of the blood vessels. Officer Ellis had the statement from Ms. Cruz on his body cam. He stated it was working properly there. And I believe that the information that he has testified to today is certainly sufficient to bind both of these charges over to Superior Court.
Okay. I agree. Based upon the evidence presented to the court today, I do find sufficient probable cause to bind the case over to Superior Court. That is the order of the court that will conclude the preliminary hearing for Mr. Bush. Thank you for your presentation of the case, Attorney Hill. And deputies, you're free. We're done with Mr. Bush.
And may Officer Ellis be excused? Yeah. Thank you, Officer Ellis. Take care.
Okay. What case would you like to do next on the calendar?
I believe 88 Myers is ready on Hamilton. That's with Ms. Pleasant.
Yes, sure.
Okay. And just checking, want to make sure that Officer McKay is we can excuse him. I think we've taken care of all of his cases.
Does he have any cases remaining?
No, his other two did waivers. Just making sure he was on Woody. That was a consent bond done with Attorney Matos.
Okay.
And then Gary Stokes was the hearing.
Okay.
And let's see. And I think he also had, I think that was it. Oh, and Thomas. Right, and Thomas was a fast track. So all of his cases have been resolved.
Okay, he's free to go.
Yes, thank you, Officer McKay. Take care.
Thank you very much. You too.
Good to see you.
You too.
Anyone else we need to release at this time?
Let me double check with Santos. No, because I think Santos, my understanding is that Evans was announced hearing. And so, but I think that's, let me see. No, I'm still waiting regarding Officer Hunter's defendant. So I think that's all in. Let me see, Holloway is on soldier, and so I'm still waiting to hear from those.
Okay, and then we still have, I believe, Ms. Pleasant has a one that's scheduled for a hearing.
Right, that's Hamilton. Yes. Mhm.
I just had a quick question before we go on the record here. The warrant that I have, it has the battery, I guess, listed as a misdemeanor, all of misdemeanors. Was the battery upgraded to a felony?
It was upgraded to a felony. On a copy of the WAA that I have is listed as a felony.
Okay, the one I have is misdemeanor. I'm not certain why.
But it was listed as a felony. And I will say, because looking at the GCIC, he has a prior family violence battery.
Yeah, I did see
so
that.
That's probably why I was upgraded.
Okay, that's why I was upgraded. Okay, that's why I just wanted to confirm that.
Right. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, we're ready to go. I'm going to start recording, go back on the record. I'm assuming no one else has any questions. Okay. Okay. I'm calling the next case on the calendar, the state of Georgia versus Timothy Lee Hamilton Jr. For specifically warrant number 2022 WA12218 for the charge of battery. Second charge is warrant number 2022 WA12219, cruelty to children in the first degree. And then the last charge I have for Mr. Hamilton is warrant number 2022 WA12220, cruelty to children in the third degree. It's my understanding that ADA Kimberly Myers will be representing the state, and Attorney Tiffany Pleasant will be representing Mr. Hamilton. I'm assuming that's Mr. Hamilton you see on the screen. Is that a correct Attorney Pleasant? Can you hear me, Attorney Pleasant?
I was trying to find the jail screen. That is correct. That is Mr. Hamilton.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Attorney Myers, you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The state calls Officer Bailey.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can lower your hand. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Sharia Bailey. First name is Sharaa. Last name is Bailey, Bailey.
Thank you. And where are you currently employed?
Forest Park Police Department.
And what is your role with Forest Park Police Department?
I'm a patrol.
A patrol officer?
Yes, uniform, yes.
And were you employed as a patrol officer with Forest Park Police Department back on August 4th, 2022?
Yes.
And on that date, did you have occasion to respond to a domestic disturbance at 241 Falcon Drive in Forest Park?
Yes.
Is that in Clayton County?
Yes.
At that location, did you meet with Miss Skyla Walker?
Yes.
And what did Miss Walker advise you had happened?
She said that her and her ex-boyfriend had gotten into a fight, and he came into the room, rushed to the room, started hitting her. Her kids were there. She was there with another guy, and the guy witnessed the whole thing. And then he went to the front office to get her evicted from the room. And then once he knew the police were coming, he ran.
Okay. So you said the defendant, Mr. Hamilton, was Miss Walker's ex-boyfriend, correct?
Yes.
And did Miss Walker advise that they have a child together?
They have 2 children together.
And this location is a hotel, correct?
Yes.
All right. Do you know whose room the hotel was in?
It was in his name, but I guess he had got arrested previously and for the same thing, and she actually stayed in the room and continued to pay the rent or whatever for the room, but it's initially in his name.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly that you testified she's in the hotel room, he comes over, rushes in and starts hitting her?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And this occurred, you said, in front of her children?
Yes.
How many children were present?
It was 3.
And do you recall their ages?
I think one of them they're like close in age. One was like a baby, like maybe like 4 months, I think. Then it was like I think a 1-year-old, and then like a 2 or 3-year-old. I can't really remember.
Okay.
They're like close in age.
Okay, all under the ages of 5 for sure.
Yes.
So did Miss Walker provide details on how Mr. Hamilton attacked her?
Yes.
What did she say specifically?
She said that he called her and told her that he was coming over. She told him that she had a friend over. So when he came, she said she had the latch still on the door. She peeked out and she saw it was him, so she opened the door. And she said when he came in, I guess he saw the guy sitting there, and he just started hitting her. And of course she tried to defend herself. And he started punching her and whatever. And the guy that was there eventually jumped in between them and was like, "Hey, y'all need to stop," whatever. And I guess in the process of him fighting her, he struck the baby. I think the 3-year-old or 2-year-old. She struck one of the children as he was hitting her.
Okay, was that the oldest of the 3 children that he struck?
Yes.
Was that Xavier Walker?
If that's the oldest, yes.
All right. And then you said when the other man who was present got in between them, is that when Mr. Hamilton went to the front desk to get her evicted?
Yeah, she said when he got between them, of course, Mr. Hamilton tried to fight him or confronted him, and then that's when I guess he left the room and went to the front desk.
Okay.
And did that.
And was Mr. Hamilton on scene when you arrived?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did anyone provide any information about where Mr. Hamilton went?
Miss Scholar, she said that she gave us a description of him, told us what he had on. One officer that was responding to the scene had seen him as they were coming to the scene. She gave us a description of him, of what he had on, and so one of the officers found him like in what a hotel is. It's like a car lot, something next to it. He was stooping down between the cars, hiding between the cars, and they found him and brought him back to the scene.
Okay. And was it Miss Walker or the hotel staff that called 911?
I believe it was the hotel staff.
Okay. And based on what was relayed to you, is that what prompted Mr. Hamilton to run from the scene?
Yeah, I asked him why did he run. He said, I guess they had previously gotten to it like a few days ago, and the officers told him that if they got to come back out there, then they're going to be arrested. He said that he was afraid, so he left.
Did you observe visible injuries to Miss Skyla Walker?
Yes.
And what kind of injuries did you observe?
She had like she had an ankle. She had like a scratch or a bruise on her ankle. On her wrist, she had like a welt, I want to say. And I think that was pretty much it. Her hands were kind of like, I guess from fighting, her hands were kind of like red. And the baby had like a welt on his back, a red welt on his back.
Okay. When you say the baby, you mean Xavier?
Yes.
Okay. And did Miss Walker advise that all those injuries that you observed were from the defendant striking Miss Walker and her son?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And did you check Mr. Hamilton's criminal history?
Yes.
And did you observe that he did in fact have a prior conviction for family violence battery?
Yes.
Okay. And he was on probation for that at the time of this offense, correct?
Yes, Miss Scholar told me that he was already on probation for the same thing already.
Okay. And you were able to confirm that, correct?
I didn't look it up. No, I didn't look it up, but I think in his criminal history that he had a previous charge of family violence.
Okay, no further questions at this time.
Okay. Attorney Pleasant, your witness.
Thank you. Officer Bailey, is there a surveillance system at the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
Was any part of what you testified to captured on video surveillance?
No, ma'am. Due to the direction of the camera, it wasn't pointed at the room, so I couldn't see anything.
Is there any surveillance in the hotel lobby?
I believe so.
Is there any video footage to your knowledge?
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
My apologies. Any video footage of Mr. Hamilton entering the hotel lobby and speaking to the clerk as you previously testified?
I didn't check the camera in the lobby. I didn't check it.
Okay. Did you speak to the clerk in the lobby?
Another officer did. It was several of us on the same time, so I just stayed with Ms. Walker the entire time, and they went and.
So another officer spoke to the clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the officer convey to you any information from the clerk?
No, ma'am.
Did you review any reports from any officer with regards to conversations with the clerk?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The gentleman that was in the room that you testified to, there was a gentleman in the room when Mr. Hamilton arrived. Did you speak with him?
No, ma'am. At the time, he said that he left, but he was going to come back. But of course, he didn't come back.
Who said he left?
Skylar called him on the phone and asked him. I asked her to call him to see if he can come back to the scene to, be a witness or whatever and give me a statement. And he said that he was going to come back, but he never came back.
Did he ever respond to the police department?
Not to my knowledge, ma'am.
So to your knowledge, there's no written or verbal statements from the gentleman that was in the room?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have any written statements from the clerk, to your knowledge?
No, ma'am.
Did Ms. Walker provide a written statement?
Yes.
And do you wear a body-worn camera?
Yes, ma'am.
Was any of your interaction with Ms. Walker captured on body-worn camera?
Yes, ma'am.
And likewise with Mr. Hamilton, was the interaction with him captured on body-worn camera?
My interaction with him, I actually had turned my camera off when I got with him because they had already had him. The other officer already had him detained at the time, and I was talking to her, so I turned my camera off. And when I was talking to him, I did not have it on.
Okay, so none of the statements that you testified to are on camera?
Ms. Walker's is.
Okay, with regards to Mr. Hamilton?
No, ma'am. Well, I mean, the other officers that were there, they may have had their cameras on.
So but you're not certain?
I'm sure they had it on, but I just know mine wasn't on. I checked the visual labs last night, and I thought it was on, but it wasn't.
Okay, but on the visual labs, were you able to observe whether or not the other officers had their body cameras on?
Yes, ma'am, they had theirs on.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. ADA Myers, any redirect?
Very briefly, Your Honor. The other gentleman who was in the hotel room at the time of this incident, did he advise why he left?
No, he just, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking that Mr. Hamilton and him got into an argument and he just left.
Like, calls for speculation.
I agree. That's the same.
You said you don't recall if he advised why.
No.
Would referencing your report help refresh your recollection of that?
Say it again.
Would referencing your report help refresh your recollection of that?
No. He wasn't there, so he just said it was a big argument. He just left. So I don't. Because he said he would return back to the scene, but he never came back.
Okay, so contact was made with him in order for him to tell you that he would come back, right?
Yes, Miss Schuyler called him.
Okay, so would referencing your report help refresh your recollection about that conversation with him?
Objection, asked and answered.
Okay, sustain.
So you don't recall him telling you that he left because he had an emergency?
Objection.
I
I'm gonna,
can't,
I'm gonna overrule it.
sorry. My computer's, our system is down in Forest Park, so I cannot look up the report. See exactly what was said, what was written.
I'll move along. I don't think it's that important for the probable cause determination. And you were asked quite a bit about statements from the clerk and video from the front desk area. Based on what Ms. Walker reported to you, did any of the violence that occurred during this incident occur at the front desk area or in front of hotel staff?
No.
Okay, it all occurred in the hotel room?
In the room.
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Pleasant, do you have any?
No, Your Honor. Defense rests.
Okay. Okay.
State rest, Your Honor.
Okay. You ready for summation?
I'll reserve, Your Honor.
Defense submits on the testimony, Judge.
Okay.
State will submit as well, Your Honor.
Okay, well, I do find, based on the evidence presented to the court, that I do find probable cause to bind the case over to Superior Court of Clayton County. That is the order of the court, and that will conclude the hearing for Mr. Hamilton. Thank you, Attorney Pleasant, for your presentation of the case, and thank you as well, Mr. Hamilton. So we have one other case before I will address Attorney Rogers' case because he have quite a bit outstanding. But I do know that Attorney Hill had requested a hearing in Evans.
Yes, Your Honor. And I was just about to ask if I could have a brief breakout room with the jail to speak to him just one more time.
Okay. And then what about Mr. Rogers? Do you need to speak to any client in the jail? Because we have quite a few, I have quite a few cases.
Speak to people at the jail.
You say yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me